mistakes that he has made, and he can't go back and fix them, reverse them himself because of his image of perfection. So he enlists a couple people to do that for him. And the names are Kat and Sam, and they have endured near fatal accidents and are in surgery, hovering between life and death when the story
Wonderful,
begins.
Gina. Leave us like that hovering
right.
between life and death, because we want more. Thank you.
All
Moo,
right.
tell us a little bit about you.
Well,
yeah.
I'm a retired mental health therapist. Oh,
No,
you
that
said
was
Moo.
Gina.
I'm sorry.
Moo. No worries, Gina. Moo, how are you?
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, yes. My first name is Napasorn. My nickname is Moo. So I am from Thailand, and I came over here 26 years ago. And this is my book. It's From Religious to Relationship. So I just met Jesus 9 years ago. So
Beautiful.
thank you.
Thank you. Stephen, how are you? Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you. I'm doing well. I am a retired stockbroker specializing in pension plans for small businesses, but I hated Houston traffic, and so I'd get down to the office very early every morning, and I wrote for 15 years and came up with this particular series called Two Runs of Stone. The first one came out in 2007. It's a 5-book series, pioneer genre, so to speak. But then as time went along, I was very interested in Hebrew writing styles within the Holy Scriptures. And so I've done a technical pamphlet here called Hebrew Gold. Hebrew Gold examines the writing styles of the Hebrew prophets in the Holy Scriptures.
Wonderful, Stephen. Thank you. We got to move on.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Kimmy, last but not least, how are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good. I wrote a book, called 43 Days Born to Live. It's about my journey with child loss and how I'm still able to continue my relationship with Jesus, and just encouraging parents to hold on to your hope and that they can see their child again, because you can grieve with hope. But yep, and I live in Jacksonville, Florida.
Beautiful. You know, hope is so very important. And before we really start diving into improving your writing style, I want to really give credit and thanks to the Festival of Storytellers. This is Chapter 3, Reader's Magnet Signature Program, which is dedicated to all the wonderful authors, all of you and all of our people listening. And unlike a lot of traditional book fairs where the focus is on publishers, this is focused on writers and readers so that we can share our beautiful stories with the world. And sessions like this offer wonderful exposure for our books, and also a beautiful opportunity to interact with an international audience. And I have to tell you, I've made beautiful friends just being here with Reader's Magnet. So thanks again, Reader's Magnet and Festival of Storytellers, for all you're doing.
Now,
all right,
I was not given an opportunity to tell you a little bit about me. I went right to the second person.
Okay, Janice, go right ahead.
Okay, I just want to let you know I have Parkinson's disease, which makes me much harder of everything that I do. But along with this Parkinson's, I feel like came a gift. And it was the gift of creativity. And I mean, I never had any desire to write a book until I got the Parkinson's and got this, either the medicine did it or the problem with my brain did it. And I've done fine by it. I've written 6 books, and plan to write more.
You're amazing. You know, it really is the brain, because FYI, I had a brain injury, and you may not know that from the way I talk now, but my creativity soared throughout that time.
Yes.
So it was what happened to your brain. Thank you, all of these beautiful authors. Let's get right into it. So it's really important to recognize what we need to do to improve our writing style. We all want to do that. Would anybody like to start with what's one very important component that you see or that has helped you grow and improve your writing style? Anybody? Moo?
This is my first book. So I never thought about writing a book, and still new to me. And when I forgot this part, that I has 5 Thai restaurant and 2 yoga studio before I wrote the book. And when I met the Lord, I just like heard a preacher teaching that you need to ask the Lord, what is your calling? And I just asking him that, what is my calling? And then when after confirmation about, he told me to write a book. And I have, no idea at that time that what he wanted me to write. And then I'm just like, look back that my 20, years old, like almost 20 years before Christ, that how is my life been doing in America, came from Thailand at the young age, 20 years old, and bring the big goal to America. And he is the one that fulfilled my goal.
Beautiful. So you received inner guidance. You received intuitive inner guidance, which a lot of authors, I know I use that, utilize to move their writing forward. Okay, yours was from Jesus, from God. Many people get it from their own inner guidance, angels, guides, whatever. But that's one way. Another way is really to be able to look at other authors, other books that you've loved before, because you can gather and glean that inspiration from those as well. So thank you so much, Moo. That's wonderful. I love the fact that you've been inspired and given the information that you needed to move ahead and pursue writing. Bravo. Who else would like to share how they've improved their writing style? What about characters? Anybody has anything to say about characters, how they develop their characters and what happened with that? I know you people have written books, so come on, let's not be shy here, because I don't want to do all the talking. I could get boring. Stephen. His mute is on. Okay, we got to figure out how to do that. Somebody can help
There we
him.
go.
Okay.
Character development. The main character in my first novel is a lady, a wealthy millering family heiress, and she actually is a very strong individual. And I was told that I must have been around a lot of strong women in my life, because she's that way. She was kind of like my mother-in-law and one of my favorite school teachers combined. By the way, Kimmy Littlejohn, I just love your name. I think that is so great. And Janice, I have to take my hat off to you. God bless you. Very touching. Gina, I enjoyed your story. Basically, I think you observe people and pattern your characters after people. Now, I will say, I have an evil guy in my first novel. He's an attorney. He's unfaithful to his wife. He's just calls himself an attorney. He's not really lettered, but he abuses her money. He goes to Copenhagen and lives it up on his wife's money. And he's a terrible father, although he did father 4 children. And I did know a guy like that. So we do have a realism with some of our characters. I don't really completely make up a character, I'll tell you that. They generally are patterned after somebody I know.
Right, but thank you, Stephen. That's important. A lot of authors, especially if it's based on some original, it's based on stories and information from your life. A lot of authors do exactly what you do, Stephen, really hone in onto specific people that they know and build characters around that. And that's wonderful, and that's important. What kind of components do we need to look at, or aspects of each character, to really make them come alive? Does anybody have any ideas or want to share that?
Well, it really works if you pick somebody or something that someone really loves. And I found that if I write murder mysteries,
Oh my,
and if I happen to write if I happen to write something about someone's pet, oh my goodness, I get terrible reviews. These people believe I've killed this pet.
oh God.
And so I've learned from that to make sure that I let these people know that I'm not the person who really kill a pet. And
Well, that's
that's
good.
actually taught me a whole lot.
Good. What other character? Thank you so much, Janice. And that's important. We, sometimes, especially the kind of books that you're writing, or that novel, it's dealing with somebody getting hurt and killing or whatever, and you don't want people to think of you in that way, and that's important.
Mhm.
What other aspects that you have utilized, you beautiful authors, to really move your writing style forward?
I think the people need to see what your character looks like. They need to hear how they talk. They need to watch how they move. We're showing a story. We're not telling a story. So if the person has a lisp, let them have a lisp. If they are forever frowning, or if they're forever smiling, or something in between, the reader wants to know what they look like and sound like.
Beautiful. So we really need to hone in on all aspects of our characters so that they really come to life for our readers, so that they really seem, wow, I know what this person looks like, how they act, how they're thinking, what they believe, what their actions are. And Stephen, you nailed it. That's so very important. What about the aspect of writing itself? How many of you have labored over writing, or thought, how am I going to finish this? Or what did you do to be able to move forward and finish a book? Not everybody can finish a book. Some people say, oh, I'd love to write a book, but they never do. But you guys have done that. So what did you need to do? Moo, you have your hand up?
To me, is enjoy. Like I love, like when I sit down and like ready to write, I just feel like in my heart that when I that inspire me is the first is the Lord Jesus, of course. But when we have to do our part. So when we do our part, we just I just sit and just enjoy, like just transfer my heart to the pen or to the computer, whatever you name it. So you just sharing your the truth from the truth, whatever book you wrote. I mean, pets, I'm thinking about, I have 5 dogs. I'm kind of like, when I share the story and people just like, oh, I love your dog, I want to know more about your dog. And it just like make me like, oh my gosh, I should write another book for the life of Panda. So that's
like
my
that.
dog name. So, and I'm just like, it's just creative. It's just love, enjoy. And then when they read, they can feel it.
That's, again, Moo, that's so very important. You when you love what you're doing and there's a passion. I'm sure every one of us has a passion for writing. I said to somebody, I'd rather write than do X, Y, and Z, which is the truth. I mean, that's what I love to do. And I think that we're all sharing that. But so we need that passion, we need that love, we need that enthusiasm to be able to move forward. But what happens when that's missing one day, when you go to the computer or your pen and nothing's coming up? What do you do?
I'll tell you what I do. Sometimes
ahead,
I'll
Stu.
pray. Other times I will edit until I can break the writer's block.
Beautiful. I usually tell people do the editing at the end, because if I edit something at the beginning that I'm writing, I get so stuck in the editing that I don't have that flow for moving forward. But what I do, and sometimes I get writer's block, I will dance. I'll get up from the computer and I'll move, because I have a
Losing
background
out.
in it, and that somehow gets my creative juices flowing so I could go back and write. Somebody else? Come on, you guys. I know you've done, you had to, I know you've had that
Kimmy has
moment.
something, Dr.
Come
Joanne.
on, Kimmy, I was waiting for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm learning as a first-time author, because I started writing slowly when he was fading. And so I always say I became an author by default. I never would imagine, but even with that, I'm so full, but I only write when I'm full. If the Lord doesn't give it to me, I don't write. I wait until he gives it to me, whether it's 3 a.m. or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's where I learned, okay, don't be frustrated if you don't have anything to add to your book today. Wait until the Lord gives it to me and then go for it. And so sometimes I'm up writing at 3 a.m.
I love it. You know, that's important. Again, that inspiration, that guidance, and not to beat yourself up when you don't have the ability that day or that moment, to have that faith and that trust that you're going to be able to move on. Janice, I see your hand. Let us know what's
Yeah.
going on with you.
Yeah, I'm really lucky when it comes to that. I wake up with a whole book in my head. I mean, I can read from the beginning, when I start, putting the characters together, and all the way through. I
Wow.
never am without words. And I don't know if that comes with the Parkinson's or not, but we have 5 children between us. This is the second marriage for the 2 of us. And we're the real Brady Bunch, the Brady Bunch, the Brady Bunch. We're that real group. And the kids love that it's a murder mystery. I guess that sounds kind of strange, but they like it because it's exciting, it's fast moving, and I just like it because I just like it. I like to write.
I think we're all here because we like to write. And again, what you do is pretty amazing, Janice, to be able to have that whole book in your head at the very beginning. When I
Yes.
wrote More Heaven, it was guided. I was teaching children with special needs and autism, kids who were kicked out of school or not allowed in school beforehand. And I kept getting little messages in my
Oh.
head about these kids. And finally I put my hands up and I looked up and I said, okay, I get it. I know what you want me to do. And that was the start of my writing, but I had no intention, like Kimmy, to write that. It just happened. So
Yeah,
I think
my
Gina has
sisters wanted
something.
to write a book, but they didn't do what I did.
well, thank you, Janice. Gina, tell us, come on.
Usually when I have a writer's block, it's because I'm writing something autobiographical and something triggers something inside and blocks me. So I have to go inward and figure out what that is and get it resolved. And then I move on and then I write about it. So that's usually what causes my writer's blocks.
But that's really interesting because you're also healing and working with your own life and your own stuff to be able to move forward. And that's really beautiful. I think when we're writing, and even if we're writing fiction, and there's so much of a part of us that I know I can't help it, that goes into the writing and the story itself. Sometimes it's masked
Exactly.
by, right, by another character or whatever.
Yes, exactly. Now, in the book that I'm writing now is a sequel to Closer to Home. And part of what Kat has to do is go to the other side and help her mother cross over. So her mother is stuck in limbo. And when I got to that part in the book, I got a writer's block. So I had to resolve something between my mother and I before I could move forward.
Beautiful. And you
Mm.
did, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. And
Yeah.
again, that's so important. I think we grow from our writing. And so how do we, writing involves words and sentence structure. And what do we do with that? Anybody have any ideas? Because not everybody is great in English or whatever, but how did you develop your writing style and utilizing the right words that fit and that connote emotion and really give the readers something wonderful to keep their interest? Anybody want to share?
I just write what I feel,
Mhm.
what I'm feeling at the time.
Expand upon that. That's good. I like that. Keep going.
Well, take for instance, writing about my mother
Great.
in this particular time, this particular scene that I had in the sequel to Closer to Home. There was some anger. So I just gathered up everything that I was feeling and just let it all come out in the words. And wasn't so much in the words, but in the action
Great.
that was happening. The interaction between me and my mother. And my grandfather was there too. So the interaction between the three of us brought the anger out. Is this making sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And it's so important because, again, when you're feeling and being able to write about the emotions, you're giving the readers those same kinds of feelings and emotions, which makes what you're writing so very, very powerful. Stephen, you had something you wanted to say. Thank you, Gina.
Mhm.
Well, I write as I speak to people. I don't know any other way. It just flows that way. I will go along with what Gina's saying. However, I think the feelings are very, very important. The other thing is that with the different characters, you have to assume their personality or their posture. And so if they're an angry type person, you've got to shift gears from your normal, reasonable self into someone that's angry. And more if someone is crying and feeling terrible, you need to shift your character into that area also. I would also like to say that one of the most important things I learned from Larry McMurtry, who wrote Lonesome Dove, he said, always have at least one or two good books underway that you're reading. Read quality literature, make sure you're examining other people's styles and seeing exactly how they do it, that has something very uplifting to read while you're writing a book.
That's really very important. When we read other authors, especially our favorites, it helps us really hone in. Hi, Mary Jo. I just saw you. Welcome.
Yeah, actually, we have three. We have three
Oh,
new
I only
authors
see
who
Mary
just
Jo. Just let
joined.
me finish what I want to say.
Okay.
It really helps us move forward because it helps us really learn more about writing and looking at different writing styles and figuring out what we really like and what we're attracted to. So that's important. Okay, let's welcome our new authors. Mary
Yes.
Jo,
We
how are
have
you?
Mary Jo, we have Robert, our father Bob, and then we also have Ellie. So let's start with Mary Jo.
Okay, I only see Mary Jo and there's Ellie. Mary Jo, introduce yourself. And tell us a little bit about your book. You're muted. You got to turn your sound up. Almost.
Hear me?
Yes, you're
Okay.
beautiful. We can hear you. Yes.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Jo Paradis Smith, and I was a language arts teacher at a middle school in Dover, New Hampshire for a long time. So, no, 37 years. So anyway, I was really passionate about writing. And so I would write with my classes, and I self-published a book called July and August, One Girl's Struggle with Opioid Addicted Mother. And it's based on experiences I had with kids while I was teaching. So I had this one student who, no, I won't tell you that much. Now I live with my husband in Barrington, New Hampshire. I lived in York, Maine for 20 years. Before that, I grew up in Arlington, Massachusetts, and went to college in Springfield, Mass.
Thank you so much, Mary Jo. We need to move on, but
Yeah, I
thank
know.
you
I was like-
and welcome. Ellie, I
you.
see you. I saw you yesterday too. Hello. How are you? And introduce yourself and your book. Books.
For us, okay. Good morning, I'm Ellie Cassetta. I have two books. I have One Caregiver's Journey, which is about my 9.5 years of caregiving for my mother. And then I have Generations of Good Food, which was published by Reader's Magnet. And that's my story. Joanne and I had a session yesterday. That's my story, Joanne. Please go on with the other authors. I just wanted to make sure you were situated and okay.
Well, you're front and center. Okay, there's someone else and I don't see that person. So who is it?
We have Father Bob on the line. Robert?
Okay. Father
Hello.
Bob, hi.
Hi,
Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Just a quick, brief statement about my past and current book. And that is that I was a school teacher, like the previous person, for 15 years. And strangely, I was an English teacher, which means a lot of the corrections that I end up making in my own manuscripts. Sometimes I think I have to go back and learn English all over again. I've been a Catholic priest for the last 21 years. And so anyway, the current book is called Joy for the Journey, The Royal Road in Time of Distress. And it was written originally for the COVID pandemic and spiritual approaches for survival during that. I have 3 other books that will be published probably in the first of the year. One of them is my autobiography called, it's called My Life as a Failure, from fat shaming to success. And then I've got also a murder mystery, Inclined to Mischief, a Father Jack mystery. And that's about it. Anyway, I'm pleased.
Love the titles. Great titles. By the way, we have several of us who've been teachers before. So think about that, because we're going to, Father Bob, in terms of teaching writing and English and literature, tell us a little bit and share so that other authors can also join in. What did you need to do in terms of formatting? And let me give you one idea real fast. I write long sentences because that's how my head goes. And I have to continuously cut them because they could go, one sentence can go on forever. And that's something that I've learned about my writing that I have to change. Go ahead, Father Bob. And then Ellie, you're next.
Okay, my upper postgraduate work was in mechanics of writing a précis. I don't know how many of you have had experience with that, but the experience I had was that you had to write 3 successful précis before you could write any of your pieces or your papers. I struggled What they had was you had to write in one sentence the tone of the piece that you were reviewing, the content of the piece you were reviewing, and from the point of view taken, if it was first or second or third point, that you had to incorporate that. 3 times or 4 times or 5 times I failed at it. That's got to go in my autobiography. My life is a failure. I haven't put it in yet. And
Please do
finally,
that.
I got that skill. Now, that's the first thing. Précis writing. If you haven't done précis writing, go on the internet or something and get the details. It will not be, I guarantee, as stringent as what I had. The second thing is learn the use of the semicolon.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
that's a great idea. Second, third now, the other last and final thing I had to say is learn to reincorporate, and maybe you have 3 sentences, try to change them. You have 3 things in a sentence separated by commas or whatever. Try to make each of those into a short declarative sentence. And that will get you out of the problem very
Beautiful.
quickly. Lastly, learn
Robert.
from Shakespeare. I never met a kid that didn't love Shakespeare. And thank you for having me this morning.
Thank you, Father Bob. We also talked earlier about learning from other authors, and Shakespeare is definitely one of them. And Ellie, you had something you wanted to say. So where are you? No, she changed her mind. Okay. Well, I think, again, in terms of sentence structure, how do you know what words fit? How do you develop your style? Anybody? Oh, Ellie. Go ahead.
So what I have discovered is many writers write in their the way they talk. Most people start a sentence with, and you know what's happening, and you know where I am, and so when I get materials, when I get materials that were to review that start with the word and, because when I was journaling for One Caregiver's Journey, I did that a lot. And someone eventually pointed out to me that I would start my sentences with and. So I think how we begin a sentence is very important. And
there we go. And I agree with you. I think that's so very important. How do you, anybody else, Father Bob?
Yes, one of the things that I agree with reading it, but there's a difference, I just caution, in writing fiction as opposed to nonfiction. In fiction, your characters are going to be less formal in the way that they talk. So you may find a number of sentences there beginning with and, or using connectives, coordinating connectives in a certain way that is proper to that character. And of course, each character has a different voice. So that's the only thing I would say. That's good advice.
there you go, Stephen.
That's very important. Mary Jo?
I taught writing for 20 years, but with middle school students. And when they came to me, they didn't know how to write. So one of the things I'm listening to, and as you're talking about character writing and about starting sentences with and, to me, it's important to get your information out and then go back and revise. So, as you read it out loud to yourself, like read what you're writing and read it aloud, because sometimes you miss things, or when you read it back to yourself, it sounds better than you thought it would, or you say, oh my gosh, look at all these ands, or I can use something that's much more, will show the reader what I'm thinking rather than telling them what I'm saying. And for characters, I feel like it's very important to make sure that you know who your character is before you even start writing about them. So you know what their speech patterns are. You understand what is going to happen next for them.
Beautiful. You may actually want to, when you have your characters, list out what the different characteristics are of each character. And I want to go back a little bit to what Father Bob said, because it's important if a character, is that how your character talks with "and" in the beginning, that's perfectly okay. But when we are narrating, as Ellie was suggesting, it's really important to make sure that we don't start with "and." And I've had to nix that as well in my writing style because it just seems so easy. How do you keep the passion and the momentum in your writing alive so that your readership can be interested and pulled in? Stephen?
Well, when you have your moments of inspiration, they generally last about an hour, hour and a half, and the flow sort of stops. With all good writers, we shouldn't fight it after we see that inspiration that's coming ceases to be. The other thing is sometimes people like to try to impress their audience with a good $5 word. When McMurtry advised me, when you think you need a $5 word and there's a good 50-center right there, use the 50-center. You're not impressing anybody.
How do you know the difference between a $5 word and a 50-cent word, Stephen?
Well, I think a $5 word is when you've got to look up because you're really not sure what it means.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else, Gina?
Well.
No, okay.
All of my
Oh, Janice, go ahead.
paragraphs, all my books and paragraphs and such are all short letters or short sentences. And I found that's my success. That's the people that follow me, that look at my work. They appreciate it. They like it. And they said because it's small chapters and small words, they said they can't hardly put it down. And so I just keep on with that. And I love to hear the people here because that, give me a completely different way of thinking.
Well, I think it's wonderful that
Lizzie,
we
I'm
have
in
so many
everything
different.
working fine.
What's that?
Talk to you later.
I think it's really important that we have a lot of different authors with different ways that they write and communicate. And so it's so wonderful that we're sharing. And what do you do? I mean, you all had to start somewhere, okay? So I've heard people say, and Ellie and I were talking about this yesterday, I've heard people say, I have a book in me. I'm going to write a book. And nothing happens. What do you do? And you've all experienced it. I know before your big book was written, at least your first one. So give us some information, right? Okay, Father Bob, tell us.
Well, I put an ancillary thing to put in here, and that is that in fiction, you have to know your characters. And I was asking, that was said, and it's so true. But what I am trying to tell you is, have you experienced your characters in their own essence, and they, in a sense, are jumping off the page to you saying, no, I would never do that. Or how can you put me in that way because you know how I am, and so forth and so on. Or am I totally nuts in saying that?
You're not nuts at all. And Mary Jo and I and everybody else probably agrees with you. I used to bring my characters when I was going for my master's degree and I was writing that book, More Heaven, because every child is special. My characters would come in with me into school. And it was funny. I'd have little jokes inside my head and little things that they were saying, but and the professor is talking about something entirely different. Mary Jo, share what you wanted to say.
Oh, I was just agreeing that, in the book that I published, I have many books, and I feel like they're post-traumatic stress disorder relievers, because they're all about kids that I had, right? And how do I get the stories of those kids out? And so for some of the things that I'm writing, I feel like they're writing themselves almost. Like once you get to know a character so well, the book just writes itself. And there are times like right now, I'm writing a book about a boy who's questioning his sexuality, and his grandfather keeps appearing to him. His grandfather's dead. But in the middle of the book, we find out that his grandfather's oldest brother was in Mussolini's Italy. And he was gay. And that's where, like, then we flash back to him. But I don't know him yet. I don't know that character yet. So I'm stuck a little bit. Like I know
Well,
the main character, but I'm stuck on this one. So I've been doing a lot of reading to try and help me figure out who this character is.
beautiful. And
Ooh.
again, that's so important to do the reading and to do the research and often to take a break. I'm in the midst of another book, and I'm not going to share the character with you because it's part of a surprise, but I'm having trouble with this character too, because it's not a normal character at all. And I'm waiting for inspiration. So how do we get inspiration? How do we boost our creativity? Any ideas? Come on, you are all beautiful authors. I want to hear from everybody.
Yeah.
Kimmy, Moo, come on, Kimmy. Okay, which one? Moo, go ahead. We'll give
Hi.
Kimmy a minute.
Oh, hi everyone. So this is my this is just only first book that I wrote, but with the experience that I have, and I just thinking that I am more what is keep me going. I'm thinking of reader, like more benefit for the reader, that what I'm going to share in my book, I want them to get the benefit. That's how I want, not thinking, because not thinking about myself. So, but like, that I'm a new believer. So in my head, it's fresh to me still, only 9 years. And I just want to like share with them that, after you get saved, and then what, what is the next step? All the benefit that they need to know, because it's just been there and done that. So I'm more thinking of them.
I think that's beautiful, because basically you want your book to be read. You
Yeah.
want the readers to get excited, delighted, feel really good about it. And you do need to think about, how is this coming across, and what does the reader need to get from this? Gina, I see your hand.
I use communication. Whatever it is that I want to communicate is my inspiration. I worked as a licensed mental health therapist for 34 years. So I've dealt with a lot of chaos and pathology, and just in general, a lot of mental illness. And I saw the side of people that the worst side of people. So I want to write about something that will communicate peace and harmony and change some of those mistakes. And I just want to write about a world that I want to see. So given my background, there's a lot of inspiration there to communicate the opposite. So I use communication.
Beautiful. Stephen, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, I would like to share, in my first book, I couldn't put it all together. I had the stories, but I needed something to cohesively bring everything together. And I literally prayed about having the proper ending. And it came to my mind, I was riding in the back of our van when my wife was driving, and the kids were kind of asleep, and I was tired, and I've been agonizing over how to bring everything together in my first novel. And I had a short prayer about it. And just about the time I was going to lay my head down and take a nap myself, an image of a beautiful necklace came into my mind. And it was like, that's it. This necklace will hold all these stories together. The heroine of the book did craft or have crafted a beautiful necklace, and it became a metaphor held everything together. So I think prayer, or if you want to call it meditation, prayer or
Meditation,
meditation,
prayer. I totally
Mhm.
agree. I just want to get to
That
Kimmy
will help.
because we're running out of time, Stephen, but thank you.
Thank you.
Meditation and prayer are essential. Kimmy, share.
Yes, I was gonna say, how I believe God inspires me is literally I think he makes the first chapter where it just captures the reader. And so I always say, okay, God, let it at least reach 3 people. And I think of the blessed Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So if it reaches 3 people and the message gets through, then I'm excited. So just really focusing on the first chapter to capture people, to get the message across, what they want to keep reading and say, okay, what's going on in chapter 2 then? And so even with this second book that is pretty much done, that was my thing, like literally going back over the first chapter to make sure that you can capture that reader.
Beautiful. So the beginning is so important and we're coming to our end. What do we need to end with that really gives our readers a wow? Anybody have some quick ideas before we get shut off?
Yes.
I got a quick
Hope.
idea.
Lead them with hope.
Hope, wait, Kimmy says hope. Somebody else, short and sweet. Stephen.
What I was going to say is exercise.
Oh,
Sometimes,
yeah.
sometimes I'd go for a good jog and wrestling with them when I needed to hear or help finish the book, and I'd get it during jogging.
Beautiful.
Really,
Jim
realism,
Rat
I
my
think.
heart.
Realism.
What? Who's Mary Jo?
I-
What?
I just think you should leave them with a realistic ending. You know,
Well,
some books
somebody
just
said-
end. So
And you know,
something,
it depends because some people suggest a realistic ending and others say like leave them with a surprise ending or a
Well,
wow
well,
ending.
Or
So
curious.
yeah.
yes, Moo. Okay. Anybody else? I just want to tell all of you that you are beautiful and that I want you to continue writing and continue reading. And with who said that? Because you've moved all the spaces around. I think what Kimmy said, and Ellie, you said this yesterday, and I believe this, and I'm sure all of you do. If we touch one person, 2 people, or 3 people that are inspired or enriched by what we've written, then we've done
You're
a beautiful
successful.
job.
Yes.
Yes, and we've done a beautiful
agree.
job. So think about
Yes.
that. And again, I want to thank Reader's Magnet and the Festival of Storytellers, Chapter 3, for this wonderful gift that you're bringing all of these beautiful authors and stories to the
Thank
world
you.
and really helping us move forward. Thank you again. And all of you continue to write. Let's give
Thank
everybody
you.
a hand.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen is right.
Amen,
Thank
amen.
you.